And good evening, good evening, good evening. I am Richard the Razor Ewing. He's Matt, none the wiser wise. And if you're looking at the both of us, that means you put your game face on. And as always, Matt, before I start, I got to go to the questions.
Get them.
So if you're trying to figure out how to get your postage out in a reasonable time without it being late, you're on the wrong podcast. And if you're trying to figure out how to get candle wax after it's melted off of the table, you're on the wrong podcast. However, if you want insight into Bay Area sports in the San Francisco Bay Area, you just put your game face on. And if you want insight into sports on a national level, once again, you put your big game face on. I'm Richard the Razor Ewing. He's Matt, none the wiser wise. Matt, what do we got?
Well, NBA playoffs are ramping up into the second round, so we have that going on. Mm-hmm. And I'm tired. I've been tired of it. I've been tired of doing the ad reads and not putting any of my ducats or any of my pesos or any of my little pennies where my mouth is. And when I say put my money where my mouth is, I'm talking about little pennies. I'm talking about $5, $10 a pop. But I got money tonight. I had money on Milwaukee Bucks that I thought they were going to blow out Brooklyn, and that didn't happen. So I went over to betonline.ag. I put my money down on Milwaukee, and I got spanked, and it didn't go well for your boy. But to make up for things, I put more money down that Denver would win tonight. They were given 5 points over on betonline.ag, and I put a little bit down. So I'm hoping that they can pull it out for me tonight, so I don't feel like a big old loser. But I usually don't feel like a big old loser because I go to betonline.ag. It's the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your sports actions. BetOnline has you covered for all the news, scores, odds. It's the best way to place your bets, and it's free to sign up. So head on over to the website, betonline.ag, or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Again, that's betonline.ag, your online sportsbook experts.
All right. So if you think you got what it takes, you think you can win some money, I go to betonline.ag. I personally would not do that because, like I said, I'm terrible at picking winners. Although I will say this much from our discussion last week that, I for whatever reason, I felt like Phoenix was the team to beat this year. I just kind of felt like, that team is pretty solid. And don't get me wrong, the Lakers didn't have all their players, but I think even if they had all their players, I don't think they were going to beat them. Now they're in the second round. They got Denver, so we'll wait and see what happens. I wanted to talk about the playoffs because I saw some interesting games so far. I've seen some games and shout out to Tom Thibodeau because he got Coach of the Year this year for coaching the Nets to the playoffs. They hadn't been in the playoffs in 11 seasons. Did a phenomenal job. But I just think when I'm watching these playoffs, one of the things that's standing out to me is that it just seems like youth, okay, is just overtaking, experience. I'm seeing a lot of young players. Trae Young's playing well. Even the Grizzlies, when they were playing, John Morant, they were playing, excellent. And once again, you look at Devin Booker's still young. He's not, he hasn't been in the league that long. But it just seems like the youth is kind of taking front seat, to the experience. But I tell you something, that game between Milwaukee and Brooklyn, oh my God, man, they beat. Let me tell you something. The whooping that Milwaukee got, there's a saying for that back in my time. I used to live in East Palo Alto, and back in that time, if you stole something, they didn't call the police if they caught you. Okay, They just beat the crap out of you. Okay, just matter of fact, by the time they got done beating you, okay, you wanted them to call the police, okay, because they beat you up pretty bad, and that's what happened, man. The Bucks got beat like somebody like they stole something. Okay, it was like
it's not looking good for the Bucks. It is not.
No.
They look overmatched, overpowered, over everything, and Giannis can only do so much. I don't know why I put my money down with Milwaukee tonight. I honestly figured, after that first game that they would come back strong, they would have a better performance. I thought they would at least make it a closer game, but that did not happen tonight.
No, it did not. And I'll tell you something. What was really coming down is that the GM of that franchise, I can't think of his name right now. They need to get some other players in there. Middleton's got to go. He's just not consistent.
No, they've needed to put players around Giannis for a while. They added Holiday, I think, this year.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a good pickup. But they really didn't do nearly enough around him and giving him enough talent around him.
Mm-hmm.
To get back to your other point, talking about youth and exuberance in the NBA, and that's definitely what you're seeing. They are outlasting some of the Grizzly veterans, some of the older teams. You are just seeing them. Basically, it looks like they're not outplaying them, but they're out endurancing them. They are out. It seems like it's getting to the point with some of these teams, especially some of the older teams, where you're seeing some older legs later in the games.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing some of these younger players that have the legs to still get up and elevate or get around their defender or make the small plays on defense that they need to make. So that is exciting. We are seeing kind of a transition in the NBA to a newer generation of players, which is exciting. Now you get to latch on to some of the newer players. I'm still latching on to Stephen Curry and next year. So, but with the playoffs, look, you got the Hawks, the 76ers, you got the Nuggets, the Suns, you got the Clippers, the Jazz, and you got the Bucks and the Nets. So you got some good series. That Clippers Jazz series is going to be a fun one to watch. That's the one I have circled as kind of my favorite so far right now.
Yeah, I can't believe Dallas could not hold on. That was just, I mean, in this is the thing, when they were playing, because I watched that game, when they were playing them before the last game they played, I watched the game before, and they had a 3-2 lead, and I thought, okay, if you allow the Clippers to win this game, I said, you guys are going to lose. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. They were up 3-2 and couldn't seal the deal. Couldn't close shop. And
talking about youth and exuberance though, yeah. But that's going to be one of the key things that a lot of these teams are going to be lacking is that killer instinct. Going for the jugular, keeping your opponent down when you have them down and finishing a game. That's what the Warriors did so well on their runs, and that's what we love so much about them. So, you definitely got to keep it like the Clippers. There you go, bro. You got to represent. Yeah. Let me. Can I just hijack this for a second?
Go ahead.
I threw out a statistic last week about the San Francisco Giants, and I went back to do my homework. To do my due diligence, to weed out the actual facts. And I have a statistic here for you that's going to blow your mind. You've never heard it anywhere else. So any other radio station, any other podcast, sports, you've not heard this stat anywhere else. You've heard it here first on GameFace, on the GameFace podcast, part of the Believe Talent Network. So, but the Giants, they've played 19 series so far this season. 19, so they're a series short. So, and those series could be a 3-game series. There's 4-game series in there, and there's a couple 2-game series in there. But out of the 19 series that the San Francisco Giants have played this season, they have won 14 out of 19 of those series. That is some really, really good, consistent baseball. Now, that stat's a little bit skewed to my bias for the San Francisco Giants because if it was a 2-game series and they split the series, I gave it to the Giants, assuming they were going to win if it was a 3-game series. So, those numbers could be, 12 to 14 out of 19, but that is one heck of a statistic. And that just shows like a really, really consistent baseball team. And that's what we're seeing 2 games up on the San Diego Padres.
Wow, that is very, very consistent. And I'll tell you something. I remember when the season started, we all had ideas about, what they would be able to do. But, none of us picked them to be first in the West. None of us picked them to be leading the West for as long as they have. They dropped a game just yesterday, and that was the first one they dropped in like, I don't know how many weeks. They got some talent on that team, but they also got some experienced guys too. Cueto's been in the league a little while. I'm trying to think of. We all know Busty Posey. Posey's been there.
Listen, the pitching staff is going bananas. Gosman is like superstar pitcher of the year. He has a 1.27 ERA. His opponents are hitting a 0.156 batting average against him. He's having an all-star year. If he's not the starter of this year's all-star game, I would be surprised. And then again, you have the Giants. I have a stat here. They are the second in the league in home runs with 85 home runs so far this year. Second in the league behind the Atlanta Braves. And the Atlanta Braves aren't in first place in their division. The San Francisco Giants are. So they're not just hitting home runs. They're playing really, really solid baseball with a really great starting rotation, playing some solid defense, and then hitting the long ball, which is just fun to watch. It's just fun to watch. And that's what I complained about at the beginning of the season, is I didn't think they had enough hitters. I thought the hitters they did have were old, and they are proving me wrong, and they're proving that I am the old fart and know what's up, because Brandon Crawford leading the team, 12 home runs. Buster Posey, 10 home runs. Evan Longoria, 9 home runs. That is incredible.
Yeah, it is incredible. That's, they're starting to call them the triple Bs.
Triple Bs.
These guys are playing. They're playing. And I tell you something, the way they handled Los Angeles, because Los Angeles had their number 4 straight, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it's like, okay, yeah, you beat us 4. Then all of a sudden, Knicks came back and showed them the door. So, I have to admit, you got to tip your hat to the Giants right now. They're playing well. But on the other side of the Bay, the A's are playing well too. So,
and so are the Oakland A's. And I owe a huge, huge apology to Bob Melvin last week. And when I said that he was about to get the record for the most wins for the Oakland Athletics as a manager, passing, I think it was Tony La Russa. I think I had that correct. But I called him Melvin Mora during last week's show. And not that he cares or listens to our podcast, but if he did, Bob Melvin, shout out to you. Congratulations. My apologies for screwing your name up, but shout out to you for passing Tony La Russa. And Tony La Russa is no slouch. He just got a record. He's second all-time winningest coaches, or third all-time winningest coaches in Major League Baseball. So Bob Melvin, shout out to you. Tony La Russa, shout out to you as well.
Yeah. And what it is this is the beauty of living in the Bay Area, because you have, certain teams that, basically, turn it on. And then when they do, it's hard to turn them off. I tell you something, I'm still excited for the Warriors, and the Warriors are at home right now. I'm still excited for them next season, because next season is going to be a monster season. You're going to have Clay back. They're probably, Wiseman's going to go through a full season of development, which is something that we obviously wanted to see. They kind of threw him to the wolves a bit this season, but it was kind of one of them situations where they wanted to see what they had. So, but I just got a feeling next season is going to be a great season. Also, it appears that the Portland Trail Blazers have parted ways with Tony Stotts, and he was there 11 seasons. And I was just, I was blown away by that. I was not ready for that. I mean, it was just, it was amazing. I'm like, what? Really? It's like, man. And then I guess you had tweeted, not tweeted, but you had sent me a text that apparently Julio Jones is now a Texan. Houston Texans?
No, not Houston Texans, Nashville. So he went to the Tennessee Titans.
We went to Tennessee Titans.
Tennessee Titans with Derrick Henry over there, and now you got Julio Jones. So, yeah, that's big. Kyle Shanahan came out and said, "Hey, good for Julio, good for the Titans, as long as he's no longer in our division." So that's a good thing. He is out, out of the division over in Tennessee. The Niners do play Tennessee this year, so that'll be exciting. Man, like so close. I felt like the Niners were kind of at the top of that pile sniffing, but I guess money-wise, they couldn't make it happen.
No, they weren't gonna be able to make that happen. They got too many contracts already sold up. I believe, I want to say Torrey Jefferson got signed to a one-year deal with the Niners. Used to play for Baltimore. And forgive me, I may have butchered his name, but apparently he sat out last year with a torn ACL. He's a defensive player. But I have not seen any other major signings by the Niners. It looks like Niners are going to go with their core group, which is a phenomenal group right now. But I think
still scary. Jalen Hurts coming back this year. We have not seen him, but I mean, from what everybody says, or what all the he's supposed to be a standout. So the Niners do have a squad. They do have all the pieces, I guess you would say, that they need. So let's just see. Here's the thing I'm concerned about, Richard. Now, as long as this man, number 97 is back and is back like he was his rookie year, we're going to be golden. What I am concerned about, though, is having a new defensive coordinator. I know that shouldn't change much, blah, 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 but I think it does change things. Robert Saleh was just the presence that he was on the sideline, the intensity at which he coached the game was contagious, and it was contagious for that defense. And when you lose a guy like that, I'm concerned. So I am concerned defensively. I think they have all the pieces. I'm just concerned with the new, new changeover, the new change in management with the defensive coordinator. So that does concern me. Other than that, I am so ready for football season.
Yeah, I think they also tried out Delanie Walker, who used to be a Niner a while back.
And went to where? To the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah. I want to say Weston Richburg. I think he retired.
He did retire.
Yeah.
Richburg did retire. So that, but I think that they knew that was coming. So that was just a formality, I believe.
Yeah, and then the other thing is, I think I forget the backup, who's now probably going to be starting since Richburg is gone. I can't think of his name right now. I believe that was something that they were messing around with last season, because Westberg wasn't in on every snap. And I think when they kind of saw that coming, they went ahead and basically started developing the kid. I can't think of his name right now.
I know who you're thinking of, and I'm trying to look through my paperwork at the roster, but I don't have it in front of me.
So but yeah, the Niners' future does look bright. I think the interesting thing too is what's going on in Green Bay. Okay, because
it's going to be, the saga is going to continue, I feel.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. It shouldn't be a saga, okay? If he wants to go, let the guy go, okay? And tell him, hey, by the way, you got to pick up, the tab on this contract we just, signed you with. Okay?
Houston Texans may be in the market for a quarterback right now.
Don't they have Gardner Minshew?
The Houston Texans.
Oh, the Houston Tech. I was thinking the Tennessee because you were talking about Tennessee.
No, we're all over. Yeah, but the Houston Texans, they have a quarterback who may be in a little bit of trouble. So maybe that
Wait a minute. To say that was actually pretty light the way you put that. A little bit of trouble.
Well, I don't want to listen. I don't want to blast the guy on his personal business. I don't care. Whatever. He's got stuff going on. Like they may need a quarterback. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah. And I'll tell you something else. I don't think anybody wants to touch that right now. Okay, that's just a nasty situation.
Nasty situation. But if you're Houston and you're a new GM in Houston, and you need to make a move, you need to do something because you're looking at starting the season without your starting quarterback. It may be time to pick up the phone and call the Packers and see what you can do to make a deal for an Aaron Rodgers so that you have a starting quarterback.
Okay.
Now they don't have much. I mean, I don't know what they have to offer back, but the Packers don't need a quarterback in return.
I'll tell you something. New England needs one.
New England would be another team that I think would have a tremendous amount of interest. I mean, if they could pull that off, that would be Belichick genius.
Yeah, because we gotta be realistic. Newton is just not. He's not the business, man. I'm sorry. That injury that he took when he was over in North Carolina, he ain't been the same since then. So, I mean,
no, he hasn't, but I always wish that this season will be the season, right? So like, I know you come back from an injury, that like, I'm like with Clay coming back, like I'm not expecting a ton, like I'll just take a full season. Right. And that's kind of, where you're at with a guy like Cam Newton, you just take a season. And now, like, I really hope that this will be the season where he'll kind of get back to some of that form that he had before the injury.
Right. So, got to tip my hat to Alex Smith. He received the George S. Hallis Player of the Year award today, and with good reason. I mean,
well deserved.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you saw that the documentary on his surgeries and everything, but man, that guy's leg should not have been come back, and it did. And he got out there because he wanted to play. They let him play, and got the Washington football team to the playoffs. I mean, that's
unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, the man had to learn how to walk again.
Right.
Let alone learn how to come back and play football. I mean, he had to learn how to walk again, and that doesn't happen in a week or two. Mm-hmm. Like that is just a yeoman's work type performance. Like it's one of those things like you tell your kids about. Do you remember Dave Dravecki?
Yeah.
He was a Giants pitcher who just threw it. I mean, it was a disgusting, gruesome, ugly injury that they showed on TV back in the day. Right. And it was nasty. And you know what? Like his comeback story was just such a beautiful story. And I was at the first game that he came back to pitch after his injury. And man, you know what? Like that, it was awesome. And like to hear his story and to hear him persevere through that, like it was beautiful. Dave Dravecki, Alex Smith is now that's this generation's Dave Dravecki. Like that injury was gnarly and gruesome. But the determination, the perseverance, the self-motivation, just
never gave up, continued. He had his, and one of the things he had stated, he said the beautiful part about it was that his wife was by his side the entire time. She never left his side, telling him, yeah, you can do this. And like I said, it's a phenomenal story. Really
and you know what, Richards, what's even better about that story is you can translate that story from Alex Smith to insert your name. Whoever is listening, insert your name, Richard, insert my name.
Right.
And there's things that we have in life that we are either have to overcome or have overcome. And that it may not be because like we get back on the sports field to make millions of dollars, but right. But that gives me the motivation in life. Like sports does that for me. It gives me motivation in life in certain areas. And that gives me motivation that I can overcome any obstacle that's in my way, no matter what life throws at me, no matter what happens, like I can overcome it because there's a man, Alex Smith, a Dave Dravecki, name the player that overcame something that could have been devastating or life altering, and you turned it to good. And we could take that same thing and we can do that in our life too. I don't want to sound like a positive, encouragement speaker, but that's how much I love this story about Alex Smith. I really, really do. Like, it's such a inspirational story.
Well, no, actually you hit the hammer on the nail head, because really, like you said, in life, we all have different things that we have to overcome at some point. And if we don't, then our lives change, and it's not going to be for the better. I look at Alex Smith as, like you said, he's definitely a symbol, okay, of what it takes to endure, okay, because that's what he did. He endured that injury, and to see him back on the field, I watched a couple of the Washington football games. He was throwing well. He was throwing very well. But hey, he called it a career, and you got to respect him for that, and you got to respect him, the person. And that was the one thing I liked when he was a 49. He was just a very genuine individual. You know what I mean? He loved the game of football, and you get every now and then some snide comments about him. Oh, he's not this, he's not that. It's like, but man, the guy was a competitor, man. He was
absolutely was. And he wasn't going to be flashy. He wasn't going to be in your face. He wasn't going to be the loudest guy in the room. He wasn't going to be any of that. He was going to be the hardest worker guy. He's going to be the most consistent. I mean, he was going to be there, and you knew exactly that you were going to get his 110%. And it's the wiring of that type of person that it's like a no-brainer that he would come back from an injury like that, because it just tells you the type of guy he is. And we can all be that type of guy.
I gotta put a correction here. I called the former head coach of Portland Trailblazers, Tony Stotts. I said Tony Stotts, but it's really Terry Stotts.
Terry Stotts.
Yeah. So that was my flub. So
who's keeping track? Like, come on. We'll get it. You know what we're talking about.
Yeah. So I watched, trying to remember which. Yeah, I think.
Wait, hold on. Quick shout out to USA for beating Mexico. Hold on. Sorry, soccer. I know.
Oh yeah, I forgot you like soccer.
Yeah, huge shout out to USA for beating Mexico.
I can't believe that they beat Mexico.
Yeah, I think it was 2-1 or something. That was one of the guys.
Wow.
I didn't even see the game. I totally spaced it was on, but one of the guys at work was like, "Man, it was a great game." So, but yeah, I believe they did pull it out. So,
okay,
that's huge, man. USA men's soccer making a comeback.
Yeah, man, because Mexico usually
they boss. No, I mean they're always going to be a great team.
Yeah.
Sorry, I sidetracked.
No, I don't apologize.
But I was excited. It's hard. This show's hard to do on a weekly basis, because you try to cover all the things that happen in a week, and then by the time we cover them, we're moving into another week, and it's tough to remember all the really cool things that happen in sports.
Yeah, because I was going to touch on in the MLS, the Oakland Roots putting it down.
Beast mode.
Yeah,
beast mode.
Yeah, that's amazing. I didn't even know that team existed. Okay, that's the thing. I didn't even know they existed, but they had a commercial on the other day, and they featured the Oakland Roots. And I was like, man, these guys can play, man. I was like, who knew? Okay.
And you know what? They were just a bunch of dudes from the city of Oakland that just loved playing soccer, and they put together the most competitive dudes from the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And that's how that team started. I was reading about it, and Marshawn Lynch invested money into them as a league. And so like, they're doing big things. Like that's so dope.
Yeah. That's so definitely cool. That's another feel good story. No question about it. So we're coming up on where we got to say goodbye. And I want to say to you, Matt, fine job as always, phenomenal job. I'm glad you kind of supported me tonight, because I have to admit I'm a little on the tired side. I had a rough day today. So, but like your stats on the Giants and everything, very well done. But we got to go. So that being said, I'm Richard the Razor Ewing. He's Matt, none the wiser wise. And if you're looking at us, you had your GameFace on. You can come in, you can sit down, you can even have a drink. But if you do, you better put your game face on.